when I first went into business, I was like, oh, I think this is for like other people. I'll just dabble with this. And now, honestly, I don't think that I could go back to a normal job. And like every now and then I'm like, oh, like what other business can I start? Like I have definitely plans to do more than just this. Like this is my absolute dream job, but I want to have something else as well.
So you're entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
right? So you like to have control over your life.
Exactly.
And then doing exciting things, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and too, with the idea that I like to be involved in the community and stuff,
Yeah.
I would really like to have a business that employed a lot of people within the community. And I think that that would be really neat. I just have to figure out that plan.
Hello, I'm John Brink and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. In Prince George, amazing city. In fact, it's in the center of British Columbia. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they know West Canada, we know that, and we know British Columbia. Where is Prince George? Well, we know the big city, Vancouver. We are 500 miles north of Vancouver, or 800 kilometers, and that puts us in the center of British Columbia, north, south, east, west. That's where we are. A beautiful, beautiful city, nature's paradise. We have within 50 miles, 100 lakes. We got black bears, we got grizzlies, caribou, you name it, deer, all the animals that you can think of in the wild, and we live in harmony with them. It's nature's paradise.
I agree.
And our guest especially today is Ember Harper. And Ember is from Quesnel, and that's a smaller city, about 10,000 people, I think, about an hour south of Prince George. Beautiful city, actually. We're going to be talking about that. Amber is a mother of two and owns a media company called Cariboo Adventure Media. So she's an entrepreneur, photography and videography company, and she specializes in tourism and industry-related projects. The other part that I found interesting looking at her bio, beyond her professional life, she also developed involvement in her community, in particular focusing on supporting other women. She serves on the board of directors of the Lady Alliances, Canadian-wide non-profit that organizes local meetups and provides scholarships. Very, very interesting. So Ember,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited having you. So, Quesnel is special to me because I came to Canada in July of 1965. I was 23 then, and so I had $25.47 in my pocket. I had no job, didn't know a soul, didn't know anybody, and I needed a job. And I had a suitcase. Actually, the suitcase had 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and I counted my money at least 3 times, and I had exactly $25.47. And then, but what I had lots of attitude is that I always, even now still, avoid negative.
Right.
I always believe that if today is a tough day, tomorrow will be better. And people that are always negative, I avoid them. Please don't come close to me. Passion, whatever I do, I give it 125%. And then work ethic, the harder you work, the more success you will find. And so that was important to me. And then I counted my money when I came off the bus. I had exactly $25.47. And I had the dream of building a lumber mill. So I came off the bus here, about 2 blocks away from here, and then I went to the immigration office here in the post office here, about 2 or 3 blocks up. And as I went there, I was lucky because there was a fellow that had a Dutch background there. and so I could speak Dutch to him, and he was working summer job in the immigration office. So I told him I wanted a job. He said, "Well, when do you want to start?" It was in the mid-afternoon on a Thursday, I think. I said, "Tonight." Obviously, I had only $25.47. So he tried to find me a job, piling lumber or cleanup man.
Right.
And he couldn't find me a job here, but he found a job in Quesnel.
Oh, very cool.
I know. So I thought, I just catch the first bus to Quesnel, because that's how it works in Holland.
Right.
You know, every 20 minutes there's a bus. Not here.
Not
Twice
so much.
a day. And the first one is gone long time ago. Anyway, so I went with my suitcase. I walked from all the way here, 3 or 4 kilometers, up to the Highway 97, and hitchhike. Okay, how did you look, John? I was standing at the side of the road with my big suitcase. I had a over raincoat, European, 3/4 size. I had a black jacket, white shirt, a tie, gray pants, black shoes.
So could they even see you?
Well, they saw me and say, "Well, who is this guy?" But finally, somebody picked me up, and so, but I could speak the language, and he said, "Where do you want to go?" Something like that. I said, all I could remember is the Greyhound station, Quesnel.
Okay.
Okay, that's what he said. And so he drove me, didn't talk much, obviously. He didn't speak Dutch. No, I'm just joking. Anyway, so he dropped me off at the Greyhound station in Quesnel. And then I got the phone number from the HR guy, human resources guy, at Bellwood of Canada. They had a little plywood plant there. And there was a little sawmill behind that plywood plant. So I called him, and his name was Ernie McKettrick.
I don't think that one rings a bell.
No,
A
60
little
years
before my
ago.
time.
I think he's dead now. Yeah. But it took me 30 years to find him again, to thank him for helping me.
Right.
So he came down to the Greyhound station, helped me in finding a place in board and room.
Okay.
Yeah, the McKettrick family on Quinson, I believe, right by where on one of the, it was a beautiful place, and I got a board and room there.
Right.
And then I had to get to the plywood plant, so I walked all the way down there in my gray pants, my black shoes, my black jacket, and my white tie, and they put me at the end of the green chain to pile lumber.
Okay. Oh, and
Now,
you're...
at the plywood plant, there were at least 200 people. Every single one of them came down, and you say, "You cannot believe this. This guy, we have a guy sitting at the end of the green chain in a black tie and blah, 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 in the shed, and is piling lumber." And so everybody came to see me. And so, but they did not realize, the first coffee break I took off my tie, but that I had a different plan.
Right.
Nobody would bury me in the 2x4s or whatever they got coming down the chain, because I was going to build a lumber mill. That was my dream.
For sure.
My dream was to come to Canada. We were liberated by the Canadian Army, April the 12th, 1945. At 5 years old, it made such an impression on me that I said, I will go to the land of my heroes. And I knew that for certain. It was not if, but when. So then I was 17. I was drafted into the Dutch Air Force, worked there. And then when I was 23, on my way down there. And so my first job in Quesnel at the green chain, piling lumber, in my gray pants, my black jacket, my white shirt, the tie. And so that's what happened.
Crazy.
And then I sent a telex to my parents that I'm okay. I'm now in a city called Quesnel. And then I'm all excited because I'm making $2 an hour.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, no.
40 hours a week and I make $80.
Right.
I mean, this is the start of a fortune.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I was there for a month.
Okay.
And then, I felt that I had to start someplace else in Prince George, and somebody offered me a job in Prince George.
Right.
I came to Prince George, and then from there I worked at a mill here as clearman, and then a lumber parlor, and then a superintendent, and on and on and on.
Worked your way up.
Look, my way up. and so, okay, John, did you get a sawmill? Yeah, I did. So that's kind of my background.
Right.
But since you're from Quesnel, with amazement and pleasure, I remember my first month in Quesnel. I loved the city. The people were immensely friendly and helpful, and and I will always remember that.
Yeah, I do find Quesnel to be quite a friendly little place, and I'm born and raised there, so of course I have quite a love for the city.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful place.
Now, Ember,
Yes.
you have 2 children.
I do.
What are they? Boy,
I
girl?
have a daughter who's 7,
What's her name?
Henley. Henley.
Henley?
Yes.
Yes.
And then I have a son, Kellen.
Kellen.
And he is 3.
Is 3.
Yes.
Challenge, right? But
We're in it.
beautiful, though.
Oh, for sure. That's
Yeah.
just it. It's always a new thing that we're learning, and he's crazy, and she is super into sports,
Yeah.
and so it's a
And
great
right
time.
at that age that they start to interact and understanding things, and
He's been interacting for a long time now. He is ahead of the game, and he is just too smarter than he needs to be.
So tell us a little bit about, you were born in Quesnel.
Yes.
You went to school in Quesnel, and then you stayed in that region.
No, actually. So right out of high school, the whole typical, I don't want to be here, this place is a drag, at 17 or 18. And so I went to the island for a few months.
Where?
To Nanaimo.
Okay.
I went and I worked at Lord Co there.
That is Vancouver Island, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Beautiful island. It's about the same size as
incredible.
Holland, so it's big.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and at the time, I think Nanaimo had like 103,000 people in
Now
it or
probably
something.
300 or 4.
Exactly.
So
That's
it's
just it.
big.
We went back this summer, and I was like, oh my goodness, it has grown.
Don't recognize it.
Right. And then
How long were you there?
6 months.
Okay.
Little under 6 months, maybe.
Okay.
I came home and I worked for the summer, and then I went up to Grand Prairie for about 8 months.
Grand Prairie's in Alberta.
Yes.
So
that's
east
right.
of us, that's the next province over.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. And I
Where
stayed
did
up.
you go in Alberta? Oh, Grand Prairie.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked for Napa there. I've always liked driving. And then
So you were a truck driver.
yeah.
Now, so let's talk about that a little bit.
For
so
sure.
for our guests from around the world, so what trucks is Ember talking about? Well, the trucks that we have here are big trucks, and they have either you pulling a van, that could be a 52-footer a lot of times, or you're pulling what we call a B train. There's 2 sections of trailers tied together. It's quite a challenge.
It's very challenging. So I actually only ever used water trucks that were a body job.
Yeah.
But I found that with my class 3 license, because that's what I got first, and so that's, you can only drive the body job trucks.
Right.
With that, I was struggling to get hired.
Yeah.
So I thought people would take me more seriously with the class 1. Went and got that and worked as a truck driver for like 5.5 years.
Yeah, so class 1, that meant that you can do all the things that relate to even the big ones.
That's right.
And so you did that for 5 years?
Yes, up in Dawson Creek.
Up in Dawson. And then what happened? Now, Dawson Creek is, again, you were from Grand Prairie. Dawson Creek is somewhat north of Prince George.
Yeah.
And for those people watching us from around the world, BC, Canada is a big country, beautiful country, big country. BC is unique because we got the coast, Vancouver and Vancouver Island. We got another city that most of the people around the world are familiar with, is Victoria, Nanaimo, a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. And then Vancouver, big city, 800, 700, 800,000, big. growing very fast. And then we got the lower mainland, that most of the population, BC has about 4 million people, somewhere in that vicinity.
I think so,
and
yeah.
probably 380,000, no, not quite that, but that most of them are within close proximity to the border.
Yes.
And then in the Okanagan, but northern BC, where we are, is that if we go by car to Vancouver, just to put it in perspective for a guest watching, it would take you about 9 hours from Quesnel or from Prince George. If you wanted to go north, and we'll talk about Dawson Creek here in a minute, then to go to the Yukon border would take you also probably at least 10 hours. And then what is significant about Dawson Creek is interesting because that's where the road starts, which they call the Alaska Highway. And the Alaska Highway was built during the war, early stages of the war, and it was a road, it was a snake road, because it went like this all around the corner. And I lived in the Yukon at one time in Watson Lake for 5 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was manager of a sawmill there, and I had a motel and all the other kind of things. But I would drive up to the Yukon, and then once I got to Dawson Creek,
Yes.
there's also a Dawson City
Yes.
in the Yukon. Once we got up to Dawson Creek, then that was mile 0
Correct.
to, and how far was it from there to the Alaska border? Mile 1200 or something like that.
Okay.
Watson Lake was 634, and I believe Whitehorse 918 or something like that. So it would take me, sometimes if I drove up to the Yukon, and again for a guest watching this, on gravel, I could sit behind a truck because you could not see around it. First, the roads were all like this. Okay, tell me, John, why were the roads like this? Because the Alaska Highway was built by the Americans when there was a fear of that the Japanese would attack us. And so as they then moved tanks and equipment up towards Alaska, they had to try to stay away from the planes that would come in and bomb them. That's why they did it.
I did not know that.
Yes,
Okay.
they did. And it took them only about 3 or 4 years to build 1,200 miles of roads. Unbelievable.
That is
how
wild.
they did it. And then, but if you drive it today, as you know, it's all paved and the road has substantially been straightened out.
Right.
But it's amazing. And, and that was Dawson Creek. So what did you do in Dawson Creek?
So I drove truck for 5 years there.
Also in Dawson Creek.
In Dawson Creek, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so back to Grand Prairie, when I left there, I had actually come back to Quesnel.
Okay.
I lost my dad.
Okay.
And so I stayed in Quesnel for 3 years there.
Okay.
I lived actually at our cabin out in Wells
Okay.
for most of that time. And then, yeah.
No, there we go. Something else that we want to share with, because it's such, for all those people watching us from around the world, I usually say it when I make the introduction, is that Canada is an amazing country. And I love it because, as I said, I've been here now for 60 years, and I fly around a lot. I'm a pilot for one, but I also do a lot of business in the United States and throughout Canada and BC. And then I fly a lot. We also have a place in Victoria. I fly a lot. And every time I fly commercially, I'm sitting by the window.
Right.
And I look outside and it says, paradise. It is paradise. How lucky we are. Oh my God. And the people sometimes down here, with all due respect, I'm not fully sure that they appreciate how lucky they are.
I agree.
Because the rest of the world, I was born during the war years, and it was difficult, so that I was born in 1940. At the risk of giving away my age, I will be 84 on November the 1st. Years young. And so So we were invaded by Adolf Hitler, and which was trying to take over all of Europe, and that was a dictatorship, and it was ruthless. A lot of people died, young people. We had the Hunger Winter from 1944 to 1945. It was the Hunger Winter. There was no food, and a lot of young people died, and a lot of older people died because there was just no food. And I remember a lot of the war years, and a lot of times I say here how lucky we are. Look now around the world, you see the Ukraine, good example, Eastern Europe, Middle East, good examples, how lucky we are to be here.
I agree.
So that then being said, that you want from Quesnel, and for our guest watching us, just physically go with me from Prince George. We drive with our car, avid speed, to Quesnel, about an hour, and then we turn east to Wells, and then Barkerville is close by as well. Now, Wells, also, the whole drive is beautiful. We end up in Wells, a very small community, and then we end up in Barkerville. That is unique because there was a gold mine, or gold mining in Barkerville, and a lot of people in the late 1800s came to Barkerville.
Yes.
And there is still a city, that has all the older buildings that are being preserved. And then I've go there many, many times. I've been in the graveyard there, and I watched the graves, and all the mid-20 years old,
Yes.
those people, I don't know how they came there because there were no highways.
Right.
And it would take them probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks to come up with horse or whatever they had. I don't know how they did it. To go to the gold fields with the dream of finding gold.
Exactly.
Some did, but not many.
No. I feel like there's a lot of very young graves in that graveyard there.
So, and they came from all over the world. And so all of that is history. And then around there, Barkerville, is nature as I described it earlier. And that's what makes Canada so unique, BC so unique, in particular northern BC. That's why it's just so special. And I mention it every time virtually on my podcast. It's paradise.
It is. Oh, it's incredible out there. Honestly, it's kind of always been a personal mission of mine to get it on the map, as you would say.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's just a hidden treasure that people don't realize is there.
And especially in you and being in media.
Exactly.
And so why did you go to Wells?
I have a house out there, so it was my dad's.
You still do?
I do,
a family home, right?
Yeah. He bought it in the late 70s,
Okay.
and I inherited it in 2010.
Yeah.
And I still take care of it, and we were just out there this weekend.
Yeah, beautiful, eh?
Oh, it's gorgeous out there.
Yeah.
You couldn't trade that for anything.
No.
No.
So you still have your family is in Quesnel.
Yes.
And then you have siblings? Or?
No, I'm an only child.
Okay.
I have my mom and my grandpa left.
Okay.
And then I have an aunt who lives in Victoria. That's my
Nice.
dad's sister.
Okay.
But otherwise, I mean, it's a pretty small circle.
Yeah, I know.
My husband's got a bigger family, but
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you have lots of friends there.
Oh,
Obviously,
yes.
Yeah, because I remember from Quesnel, very close together, all the people. Even
Yeah.
Prince George, in a lot of ways, we have, for our guests watching us, we probably have 80,000 people here approximately, Prince George. When I came here 60 years ago, it was much, much smaller, maybe 20,000, if that. It was considered to be a boom town.
right.
And most of the conversation was between people and saying, oh, when did you get here? Oh, I got here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, when are you leaving? Because people came here just to make money and then leave.
Exactly.
It has turned in now, we have a university, we have a college, we have all the infrastructure, and Prince George is a center British Columbia is kind of a capital, if you wish.
I agree.
And all the communities get very, very close together.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I mean, lots of Quesnel people come up here to do their shopping and stuff because we don't have the same amenities.
No. The biggest stores are here. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us more about you and about Cariboo Adventure Media.
So I'm going into my third year in business. I don't like to say I was just a stay-at-home mom before this, but I was staying at home with the kids. And for Christmas a couple years ago, I decided to buy myself my dream camera.
Yeah.
And
So what is your dream camera?
well, it was my dream camera at the time. It's not my dream camera anymore.
Okay.
It's the one that gets the job done. But it's just a Canon EOS R, which is their newer mirrorless system. I started just shooting photos for whatever people would pay me.
Yeah.
In that first 6 months, I decided I didn't want to shoot portraits and family photos and stuff because that's not really up my alley. And I kind of dreamed that I would find a way to infiltrate the tourism sector.
Who took this?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can see this. Which camera is active, Joan? This one, yeah. Okay. So there we got an absolute amazing picture. I believe this is Ember
with Kellen on my back. I had a tripod and I set it all up and away we went.
And where is it?
So that's at the Sisters Creek Recreation Site out in Kersley, which is about 10 minutes from Quesnel.
Yeah.
And we just went out for...
Is that south, east?
South.
South.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing that you do, which makes it unique. I find it an amazing picture, gets your attention. So you in particular look at nature and photographing that, right?
I agree, yes.
Yeah. And so what would you do? I saw another picture. I don't know if we can see this or not, but it's one where I believe it is Ember sitting very high with her bike, and another amazing picture again showing. Have you got a website?
I do, yeah. It's caribooadventuremedia.ca.
Okay, say that once more.
caribooadventuremedia.ca, and Cariboo is with 2 O's.
Okay.
And that actually, my husband took that photo.
Okay.
He would be very pleased to know that it was a favorite.
So what is his name?
Justin Fedirko.
Justin Fedirko.
Yes.
And what does he do?
He's an electrician. He works at Gibraltar Mine, and he's been an electrician since right out of high school. So
yeah. So maybe I thought he worked at Wellwood and he saw you in your suit. No, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding.
No, for sure.
I'm just being funny. So okay. So 3 years in business.
Yes.
So how does it feel being an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's so
extraordinary, right?
I love it. Honestly, when I first went into business, I was like, oh, I think this is for other people. I'll just dabble with this. And now, honestly, I don't think that I could go back to a normal job. And every now and then I'm like, oh, what other business can I start? I have definitely plans to do more than just this. This is my absolute dream job, but I want to have something else as well.
So you're entrepreneurial, right?
Yeah.
So you like to have control over your life.
Exactly.
And then doing exciting things, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, and too, with the idea that I like to be involved in the community and stuff, I would really like to have a business that employed a lot of people within the community. And I think that would be really neat. I just have to figure out that plan.
The Lady Alliance.
Yes.
What's that all about?
So they are a nonprofit, Canada-wide. We used to be a little bit more...
By intent or accidentally? No, I'm just being funny.
We used to be in the States and stuff, but because of we were trying to get insurance, so we couldn't get insurance and have active chapters. So we had to close down our American chapters and everything like that. Our leader, Kieran, she is incredible. And she had this dream back in 2016, 2017, I think she started it. And I kind of came in at 2019, right as the pandemic hit. So I didn't really do much off the hop there, but just at our AGM, I started to be their director of marketing, and yeah, it's been interesting to try and learn the ropes of what all goes on in a nonprofit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so is that still further expanding? Is it mainly here in BC, or is it like
No,
across
it's across Canada. Yeah. So we have Saskatchewan, maybe it's Saskatoon has a chapter. One of the places in Saskatchewan has a chapter. There's a couple in Alberta, a couple in BC, one in Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to grow, and we used to have more chapters, but I mean, it's all on a volunteer basis.
Yeah.
So people come and go.
They come and go, right?
Exactly.
So depending on what's happening in their lives.
Totally.
Yeah. So what are you thinking in terms of entrepreneurship, other things that come to mind? Are you thinking more, your kids are still young, so they still need you relatively close by, but you could do something else in Quesnel.
Right.
And then the other one that is always huge from an opportunity perspective is the media.
Yeah.
Media meaning all the different things that are happening on what we are doing, podcasting.
Right.
Or interaction in some form or fashion on a media platform.
I don't know. I kind of, in some respects, would like to stick with media as far as that goes. It's more of finding the people that I would need to do that and having the vision to go along with it. But I like the photo and video side of things.
Yeah.
So it would be nice one day to kind of like bring more people into that and have a bigger team to work with.
Yeah. The College of New Caledonia, I've been quite involved with them always, in the University of Northern British Columbia. Both of them have campuses, I believe, in Quesnel.
Yes.
And are they doing things in that field?
I don't think so. I think they have like nursing. I think they have like electrical and the trades and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't really think they have any kind of like, every once in a while, one of the longtime photographers of Quesnel, she'll put on like a learn your camera kind of seminar. Yeah. But I don't think that they have any sort of dedicated courses for that.
Right.
Which would be really cool to see.
Yeah, maybe it's something you have to talk to them about.
Right.
Because I'm just kind of letting my entrepreneurial mind go.
No, for sure.
And the way to do that, in my mind, would be put something together and saying this is the way. It's not only photography, but also media related and other things, internet related, possibly.
Right.
Those kind of things make it interesting, right?
I agree. Yeah. Well, and that's the huge thing is like right now, everything is online, right?
And that's where it is going.
It is.
Next, AI.
Yes.
And then, so I just ordered a new phone as well for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What one are you getting?
iPhone 16.
Okay. I hear it's got a nice camera.
Yeah. with AI in it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be interesting to see what that's like.
Yeah, for me too. It's saying, don't point it there, John. It's not, you have to have more, it probably interacts with you.
Right.
Doing things before you know it. AI is so amazing, in my mind, is that a lot of people fear it, but the genie is out of the bottle.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you can't put that back.
It will become dominant in a lot of things, in a positive way, that we are doing today.
Oh, totally.
Will be done differently because of AI, no different than computers did.
No, well, exactly. And that's the thing is I've already seen so many advancements just with the editing software. When they put AI in there, you can all of a sudden take out things that are in the background and it makes it look realistic instead of clicking 900 different times to put a little tiny spot where the grass is, sort of thing.
Exactly.
So
for me, is when I grew up, I didn't have any money when I was a kid, but I loved cameras. And I would go to camera shows. We used to have them every year in our community. And I would pick up all the brochures and pamphlets dreaming about cameras. And I did. And then, then when I came here and started to, was very busy with what I did, but then started looking at cameras, in particular Leica.
Okay.
And so I bought all these Leicas. I must have 20 or 30 of them.
Really?
Yeah, all this equipment, I bought it through eBay and, and some of the other online stores.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I just collected them.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my whole family, so my dad's parents were older when they had him. They had him when they were in their 40s.
Yeah.
And he was born in 1948. So I had, growing up, all the cameras throughout the years just hanging out because they didn't
Beautiful,
really
huh?
throw anything away.
No,
so
no, you
it was,
couldn't,
yeah, so I used to use them as my toys. And
Yeah.
I've always had quite an affinity towards cameras. And
Yeah. So technology, and especially for people like myself, just like I said, I'm going to be 84, but I'm still very proactive in computers and iPhones, and I have to be. Otherwise, I can't, in business, I can't operate. I have to be able to send emails, and then obviously be very proactive in podcasting. And how the podcasting thing worked for us is it started all blogging about 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then we gradually went into television, worked with Shaw to do I forget now what they call the shows that they do on a community-based shows, and did interviews there. And then COVID came.
Right.
And so we said, what do we do now? So I had this apartment here and saying, let's do it from here. So we'll gradually turn it into a studio.
Right.
We did. And then started interviewing like this.
I think it's very cool that
Yeah.
you had that possibility, right?
Yeah.
You know?
And that went well. And, we did a lot of interviewing all the time. And then gradually we had to say, we're running out of guests.
Right.
Although we have an amazing amount of interesting people around northern BC. And so then I thought, I have to set up another studio. I have an apartment in Yaletown.
Oh.
Maybe we'll set up a studio there. But the more we thought about it, saying, how about, I was watching TV. As you can see, I'm looking at the TV that we have there. And then watching CNN, ABC, all the other ones. And a lot of times what you would see is 1, 2, 3 different persons
Yes.
from all kinds of the world and saying, hey, how about that?
Right?
And then, how do you find the connections? So we found PodMatch, and that is an organization that identifies podmasters
Okay.
and matches them with others compatible
Right.
from around the world.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. So we started doing that, and so now, as I said probably earlier, probably 95% of our podcasting that we do it globally.
Right. Yeah. I think it's so cool to watch you have people from the States and from everywhere else.
We have them from Greece, we have them from China, South Africa, Australia, blah, blah, blah. And,
Right.
and obviously we've been quite successful because we the top 1% podcaster globally. And that's amazing because there are millions of them.
Exactly.
To be in the top 1% is amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other part is YouTube. And what I'm looking at now is doing a platform. So on different issues.
Right.
And the other things that I have, I'm also an author.
I know.
Did
I
you?
have been following your work for years now.
Oh, thank you. Did you get any of my books?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay,
but-
I'm going to give you, before you leave, a copy of each book.
Oh,
this
well,
this
thank
one here,
you.
I'm going to sign it for you.
Cool.
Is Against All Odds. I was not a success story academically. Ooh.
I feel you there.
I failed grade 3 and I failed grade 7 3 times. Ooh. And they said, what are we going to do with this guy? And they said, advised my parents, they said, maybe send him to the mentally challenged school. They said, no, we're not going to do that.
Right.
So let's make him work with his hands. So they said, my grandfather was a carpenter. master carpenter, and my dad was in lumber, and so how about sending him to the furniture store, or furniture factory? So that's what they did, and then in the evenings I would go to the college and learn to become a furniture maker.
Oh, that's very cool.
At 13.
Right.
So, and I'm now
Before
nearly
child
84.
labor laws.
Yeah. So now 71 years later, I've been working for 71 years and I like it.
Oh, for sure.
I've gone a little bit beyond being a furniture maker, but I still like it.
Right.
And so the other part was that, when I came here, I grew up speaking dialect in northeastern Holland. And then I went into the Air Force, then I had to learn to speak Dutch. That was hard.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I barely had that under control. I came to Canada, I had to learn to speak English.
Well, don't you know you learn the best when you're thrown into a new situation that feels...
Yeah, but it was not easy, especially not on the green chain, right? So
No.
It is learning to speak articulate, so, and I learned the swear words very quickly.
I bet. They were probably repeated pretty often.
So, anyway, so then I went up to the Yukon and did all the other things. And people said to me, why don't you write a book about it?
Right.
And so I tried several times, so and for 20 years, start, stop. And then I knew if I didn't do it now, about 4 or 5 years ago, it would never happen.
For sure.
So I had to do it then. Writing books is not easy.
No, I would imagine that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and so how big should it be? What should the font be? What kind of paper should it be? How about the outside? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Anyway, so so this book, Against All Odds, is not about how successful John is. It's not about that. Just the opposite. In spite of all the ups and downs, and staying the course and never giving up.
Right.
That's what this book is about.
Cool. I'm very excited for that.
Now the other one that is, I don't know how to say this, but I had a mental disorder. Ooh, John, what's that? I'm just joking. ADHD. So it was kind of not understood at the time. They kind of looked at it like, okay.
Right.
Not now. But,
No.
No. So it took me, I always thought of myself, all my friends in school, kids can be hard on each other, right? And so when I failed grade 7 for the 3rd time, the friends that I had went on to college, then university, and I became a laborer. I'm proud of that today, but then it was kind of looked down on.
Right.
And so then when I came to Canada in 1965, and I always felt I had to prove to myself more than anything that I was just as good as any of the others. Not better than, but at least just as smart.
For sure.
And I walked into a store here in Prince George in January of 1997. I was already here for 32 years.
Right.
And a lot of people said to me, you're so successful, blah, blah, blah. I didn't feel that way.
No.
And so I picked up a book. This is the book that I picked up. And for our guests watching us from around the world, is that Driven to Distraction. I don't know why I picked it up. If you look in the book, and then it said in the book, I wrote in Dutch.
Okay.
Now I finally know who I am. January 1997.
Cool.
It's about ADHD.
Okay.
And I had no idea. And the more I read it, I nearly wore it out, as you can see. Written by Dr. Hollywell, medical doctor, Edward Hollywell. And he has written 18 books, 5 on distraction, known globally for being probably an expert in ADHD. He is ADHD and how did you call and has dyslexia.
Oh,
so do I.
Right.
But he is a very, very good writer. I had him on my podcast.
Oh, no way.
I did.
Oh, cool.
And for all those people watching us, our podcast is podcast number 309. Podcast 203 is with Dr. Hollywell. And we talk about ADHD and a number of other things that I always thought that ADHD may be 8% of the population, but the more I read about it, it's probably closer to 20%. And when I had Dr. Halliwell on my podcast, I suggested that to him. He said, no, John, at least 25%.
Really?
I agree with him.
Yeah, no.
And that's equal between males and females. Females then show it differently than males, obviously.
Yes.
Or not obviously, but that's the case it is. The other thing that I found, that entrepreneurs, you know, and business persons, that especially successful ones, that I believed, and I mentioned that to Dr. Halliwell, that I believe 50% of them are ADHD.
I would believe it.
He said, no, John, at least 75%.
Holy smokes.
I agree with him.
Wow.
So I call it a superpower.
I agree. I think it would be.
And so that's why I feel very strongly about that. And then, you know, I talk about this a lot. Not a lot, but if I give presentations, I like doing presentations. And then when I do presentations talking about whatever topic it is in the public, and if I do it to a couple of hundred people, whatever they are, and sometimes more, then talking about different, I usually include something about ADHD.
Okay.
And by the time I'm done talking about it, I'm a good presenter. Then a lot of people are saying, damn, I wish I had it too.
Oh, no way.
I believe.
Oh, for sure.
So I wrote a book about that. ADHD Unlocked, very popular. Now, I'm going to give you a copy of this too.
Oh, well, thank you.
For free. But I want you to tell me, what is the price of the book on the back?
$25.47. No way.
All my books are $25.47.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to get you one of those too. And then I did another one, is that I feel, I heard on your station that so many people, you know, that 75% of the people in the United States, Canada's the same, I believe, don't like the jobs.
Right.
And 70% of them are looking for another job. And then a lot of times when I give presentations to young people, and I ask them then in universities, colleges, or high schools, I say, what you going to do after you're done here? They say, I don't know. I said, well, respectfully, you know, that you want to be a truck driver, talk to people that truck drivers.
Totally.
And they love to tell you what they're doing.
Yes.
Or you want to be a carpenter, talk to a carpenter. You want to be a contractor, talk to a contractor. They love to talk to you. Or you want to be a lawyer, talk to a lawyer. They love to talk to you. Or a doc, or for that matter, an entrepreneur or a business person.
Exactly.
You know, and it will give you a general idea of saying, I like to go that direction, the other direction.
For sure. That's
So
what
I felt
found
that to write a book about that. I did that too. Cool. You know, finding your passion, living the dream.
Awesome.
And then saying, okay, John, how about you? Are you living the dream? Well, I started working when I was 13. I'm 83, and I've been working for 70 years. I love every day of it.
Well, that's what keeps you going, right?
I'm living the dream.
That's just it. As long as you love what you do, what's the adage? You never work a day in your life?
And you're absolutely right, Ember. And so the other part is that health and fitness, and you are into that.
Yes.
And so I believe that's important too. And this is my last book, and it's a picture of me.
Right.
I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America.
No way.
I am.
That is a very cool title.
And so what I'm doing now is, you know, I competed in BC, qualified for the Nationals in the Arnolds in 2018, and then COVID came. And so now again I'm in training for the Arnolds in 2025.
Wow.
When I'm 85. And
That is so cool.
And this is what I look like, you know. So
right.
Yeah. So that's. And I'm going to give you a copy of this one as well.
Thank you.
So that's kind of a bit of what I do, and then other than the business that I'm involved in, but I like to do things that are exciting. I believe in health and fitness, and there's a lot to do with quality of life, doing the obvious: don't drink, don't smoke,
yes.
you know, don't do bad drugs, and try to stay off the medicine as much as you can.
Exactly.
But try to stay fit and healthy and understanding your body, because your body extremely precious and amazing resilience in terms of trying to stay fit.
Yeah.
No matter if you abuse it, it will try to stay healthy.
Right.
But you can only abuse it so long.
Before it gives out, yes, exactly.
And what happens to a lot of people in the last decade of their lives, they're struggling with a number of illnesses which are typical in latter age.
Totally.
And they're struggling with that. What I'm trying to do is to stay fit and healthy. My wife is a vegetarian.
Okay.
I'm a vegan. 90-10, 20,
Right.
pretty much a 90-10. A lot of plant-based diets, and then stay fit, get lots of sleep, and doing all of those things.
For sure. Well, yeah, that's just it, is if you stay proactive about it, it is obviously easier than trying to fix it later down the road.
And the key is, even for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people, and you do too, I'm sure, even in their 50s, saying, well, stay active, go walk or do something, and say, well, I'm too old, so I'm, they throw in the towel.
Exactly.
So not necessary, so stay fit, stay positive, mentally, physically, diet, sleep, all those obvious things.
For sure. No, I agree. Because that was one of the big things with truck driving too, was I was finding that I wasn't moving my body. I was, you're sedentary for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I knew that when I went back to work, I didn't really want to go back to the same sort of situation.
Yeah.
And so, I had wanted to be a hiking guide. But the more that I looked into it, the less feasible it seemed. And then this just kind of happened, and away we went, because this keeps me very busy.
Yeah.
And I've had lots of opportunities to be very active with what I'm doing. Like, I shoot for snow seekers during the winter sometimes, and that involves skiing for the day and getting the photos and whatever's needed. And
you're very active, Ian,
am.
in this picture too. Obviously, that's your husband too, of you. Beautiful picture, actually. And so it's the one where is your bike.
Yeah.
And so so you do guiding as well? Is that one of the things that you do?
No. So I had wanted to. I had kind of been in contact with Meg from formerly the Adventure Bus, and I had led a couple hikes for her out in Wells. I liked it, but I discovered I didn't really like being responsible for that many people's safety.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I figured that out early, instead of going through all the steps and spending a bunch of money on it. But that was my thing, was I just don't like being responsible for a whole group of people. So with this, I get to obviously do the same sort of stuff that I like, and it's covered by my insurance, my who I'm shooting for's insurance, and it's less, I'm not the one leading it. You know, there's always someone else doing something. So
what I hear from you, Ember, is that you were very proactive, although you did truck driver for a long time.
Yes.
Once you get locked into a job, then it becomes increasingly more difficult to step away from it.
Exactly.
And so that's what happens to a lot of people. They say, I don't love what I'm doing, but I'm stuck now. I have a mortgage, I this, that, and all the other reasons that and I'm afraid that if I do something, it's not going to work out, and then blah, 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 blah. Right?
Exactly. And you fail, and you've got a family, a house, whatever. And I can see why that's such a real thought process. But at the same time, it's like, how are you going to feel in 60 years when you look back and you didn't like what you were doing for half of your life, right?
No. And then if you don't like what you're doing, you're taking it home as well.
Exactly.
Right? It becomes, your attitude and all the things that you do, and then frustration and all of those kind of things. And there's nothing more pleasurable than being at somebody that is contented in life.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's just it. I don't have to take on jobs that don't sound exciting to me. So I take on jobs that are really exciting. And so I do really get to do what I want to do.
And that's, to me, my foundation is attitude, passion, work ethic, but will follow success.
Yes. No, I agree wholeheartedly. And honestly, I think that that's something that a lot of people that are like struggling and want to be entrepreneurs, they don't realize that if they just keep plugging away at it, it'll happen. Like it can't not happen if you keep working at it, right?
Exactly. So what else comes to mind, as we get to the end of our program?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. This summer I've been really lucky, honestly. I've done a couple jobs out of town. I just went up to, have you ever heard of Tyaks? It's in Goldbridge, and it is this amazing lodge, and I worked for them for a little bit.
Where is Goldbridge?
Goldbridge. So, do you know where Seton Portage and Seton Lake are? So there's Whistler, and then about 2.5, maybe 3 hours away, you can go kind of west.
Okay.
No, east. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
East.
Yeah.
And so you would get there, and there's this.
Is that on the road that is next to Chase?
I don't know.
So Pemberton, I know that is all in the mountain range.
Yeah, because I came in from Lillooet. I came in the Lillooet side, and you drive this really windy dirt road.
That's the road I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
okay. And it was.
How's that road called again?
I don't know the name of it.
Scott, tell me what the road is called.
Duffy Lake Road.
I think
Duffy
that was
Lake
the
Road.
one.
That's the one.
And it was a beautiful, beautiful journey in there, and we did some gravel biking content for a tourism organization, and it was one of the coolest jobs I've ever done.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's kind of my like bread and butter is working for lodges and tourism organizations. And
So you found your niches.
yes.
Although you had a foundation of traveling around initially from Quesnel to Vancouver for a bit, or Nanaimo for a bit.
Yes.
For about 6 months, and then you went to Wells, and then to, of all places, Dawson Creek.
That's where my husband was living at the time.
Okay.
So I followed him.
Okay, so that, and those are the things that happen, and then you were there for a period of time, and now you guys are in Quesnel.
Yes.
And with your 2 children, and your husband, obviously. And then it appears to me like you're very good at what you're doing.
Thank you.
That's obvious. Give us your website once more.
It's Cariboo with 2 O's, Adventure Media .ca.
.ca. Okay, and so for all those people watching us, and then although we podcast internationally and all over the place, but it is always a delight, as you have noticed, to have somebody that is special out of our region, very close to us here in northern British Columbia, like Ember is, and that can share with us some of the things, her life. She was born in Quesnel, about an hour away south of Prince George. And then, such an amazing area in central British Columbia for all those people around the world that are planning to go somewhere, choose Canada. And in particular, if you choose Canada, look at BC and the Rocky Mountains, and then you go north to northern British Columbia, and that is nature's paradise, where we are today and where we are podcasting from. And for all those people watching us as well internationally, subscribe to our podcast. If you like what we are doing and you want to see more of it, like us, also comment on us, and share it with others. Ember, it was a pleasure. I'm going to give you a big hug, but we're tied up right now. So
right?
I love to have you on for my podcast. You're an artist, you're an amazing lady, and it was a pleasure to have you on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here. This was incredible.
And we'll make it available tomorrow to your friends and everybody around you as well.
Perfect.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Take care. you.